So today, as I mentioned, and as you could see in some of the common challenges, there are inconsistencies in how we are creating and updating standard operating procedures in most businesses. The businesses that are really hyper successful, that manage to breach that ceiling, I call it a ceiling, right? They grow, they grow, they grow, they hit a ceiling, usually do so by implementing effective systems and standard operating procedures that allow them to ensure success. But a lot of the times we don't even know where to start. And there are a lot of great resources out there that you can read. You know, many of us are in the manufacturer's rep space. We may be running a small to medium sized business. And there's this fantastic program called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, run by Gino Wickman. And what he's created is a system to create your systems in-house. And there's some fantastic books around that: Rocket Fuel, Traction, Process, some great resources that you can read. And then you can pay a consultant tens of thousands, $100,000 to come in and help you build those systems, which is not a bad route to take if you have the budget, the time, and the resources. Okay. What I'm going to teach you today is how to leverage AI to do all of this stuff, because we now live in the world where artificial intelligence is at our fingertips. We've got access to ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Gemini, you name it. And it's low cost, and it can tap in to expertise and assist you as your co-pilot in creating anything. And today we're going to focus on SOPs. And the reason why I'm going to zero in on AI is because as business evolves over the next 18 months, folks, AI is going to play a bigger and bigger part of your day. And you want to get used to using AI as your co-pilot. We don't have to be Lone Rangers. When you fly a plane, commercial aircraft, you've got a co-pilot, and you're making sure that everything is being done correctly. And many of us are on a leadership team, and we have resources internally, but this is your own personal co-pilot. And I'm going to teach you some things today that I hope you find really useful. So I'm just going to share my screen. Where did the share button go? There it is. Share screen options. There we go. Advanced and via cable. And let's make sure that it is not on pause. It likes to go automatically on pause, just so you know. I'm not sure why. Okay. So there's going to be 8 steps. Anytime that you want to create a new process, you need to remember these 8 things. The first one is identify the need for a process. All right. So what process do you want to create? And usually that comes from an existing challenge that you're seeing in your business, right? You know, the quotes team can't keep up with the quotes, or the sales team isn't following up on certain sales calls, or we can't seem to get products out the door in a timely fashion, right? We need to create a process for each one of those. Once you've identified what processes you want to create, then you can prioritize them, and that's a whole other discussion, but we're going to talk about actually creating the process today, okay? So identify what process you want to create. The next one is you can create the process using AI. And in today's case, we're going to use ChatGPT. Okay, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Once you've created the process, then you have to implement and test it. You want to make sure that it works. So you want to implement it and test it. And I usually suggest 2 weeks. Okay? At which point, once you've been running that new process for 2 weeks, you get feedback from everyone involved, from your customers, your team members, people who are using it, because you're probably going to have to refine it. It's going to be important. Once the process is created, you've tested it for 2 weeks, you're getting some feedback, you're going to have an opportunity to make tweaks. So make those tweaks, document them, and then from then, test again. And again, do it for another 2 weeks. Okay. And I appreciate everybody learning how to read my writing. All right. So test it again for another 2 weeks. From there, you get feedback so that you can finalize it. And then you launch it officially and review every 6 months. Make sense? Pretty simple. 8 steps. Identify the process, create it, implement and test, get feedback from key stakeholders, tweak it, test again, get feedback, refine it, finalize it, launch it, and then review it every 6 months, because one of the comments we saw earlier was they need to be updated, right? And part of the process of developing processes is to have a process to update the process. All right. There's a lot of P words there. So there you go. What I'm going to focus on is creating it. Okay. And we're going to use ChatGPT today. Show of hands, who has a ChatGPT account, a paid ChatGPT account? Okay. ChatGPT paid account is like $20 a month. All right. And in many cases, that $20 is going to be worth tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in improvements in your business. It's like an extra employee. You definitely, no questions asked, want to go and pay for ChatGPT. Do not cut a corner on this one. Okay. It's too cost effective to ignore. All right. And starting today, I'm going to encourage you to use the paid version, but also use ChatGPT as your co-pilot every single day. And what I mean by that is anytime that you have a question, a challenge, some sort of solution that you need to come up with, run it by your co-pilot. Run it by your co-pilot. See if it matches with your approach. See if it makes sense to you. And start including that in the fabric of your day-to-day. And an example of that is when you're using it to create standard operating procedures. Onboarding process is a standard operating procedure. In the last 3 months, I've helped numerous manufacturers reps in minutes create onboarding processes that they've never had in their toolbox before, and brought new players onto their team in a far more effective way than they ever have in the past. And it took them minutes. The challenge with standard operating procedures historically, when you are writing them out, they can be daunting and they can take you weeks, if not months, to finish the project. You are going to be able to do it in minutes. And the key here is that you want to be using the system properly. And what I mean by that is when you're talking to ChatGPT, and I'm going to give you some clear examples in a moment, there's 4 things that you want to remember. The first thing is you want to make sure that ChatGPT is clear on the role that it needs to play. Okay? How to act. What's the role ChatGPT is going to play? The next thing is the task. Okay? What do you need it to do? The third thing is you got to give it some context. Okay? Right? Give it some context of the situation, your business, etc. Okay? And then finally, what's the format? What's the output that you want it to give you the information in? Okay? Context can also mean resources that it should be researching. Okay. So if you can remember those four things when you're talking to ChatGPT, you're going to be light years ahead of the standard user, because the most common mistake people do when they talk to ChatGPT is they just ask it a question. And it's going to give you a high level, surface level answer. But when you follow these steps and you give it clarity around the role, what it needs to do, and give it some really important context, the output is going to be far better, much better, and high quality. So that's what we want to do. Okay. Any questions so far? If not, I'm going to jump right into ChatGPT. Okay. Good. All right. So the first thing we want to do with ChatGPT, and you want to be on 5, and this is why I'm saying you want to pay for it. If you haven't done it already, do it. Is you want to create a project. So on the left-hand side here, you can create projects. Okay, and I'm going to create new project, and I'm going to write SOP. Create project. And the reason why you want to create a project is that anytime that you've got internal projects in your business, whether that's uh, uh, initiatives, SOPs, hiring people, marketing initiatives, you name it, reporting, analysis, when you create a project, it acts like a little memory bank. So all of your SOPs that you create can live in this memory bank. And as you talk to the system, it's going to refer back to all the things that you already did. So it'll improve itself over time. It's like a self-learning bot. Okay. So what we've done here is we've created a project called SOP. Now, I'm going to give you an example of an SOP. This is a challenge I was dealing with a client this morning. All right. So they're a manufacturer's rep in the electrical space. And what's happening is they've got a sales manager who's taking a lot of inbound calls from clients who are concerned that their quotes aren't getting processed. Because what's happening is, and then he's actually getting the emails for the quotes, and then he's got to pass them on to the quotes team, because his existing process, although it was the intent of it was really good, needs to be refined. Current process is the customer is supposed to send an email to a standard email. It's the manufacturer name at the rep agency's email address, and that goes to an inbox. And then from there, the quotes team triages it. They handle the quote, and then they attach that quote in the CRM and assign it to a sales rep. Okay. And that sales rep is supposed to follow up on it. But when the customer sends that, the customer doesn't know what's happening to it, because there's no response, there's no communication. And if it's urgent and it's a big dollar, that's why they're reaching out to the sales manager, because they want an answer now. Right? Can you guys relate to that? So in his world, what's happened is he's just dealing with it. He's like, oh, well, that's the norm. I guess I got to deal with that. But when we analyzed his time and priorities, he's spending sometimes 4 hours to an entire day of his week dealing with these quotes and challenges that are happening, when, if he took time to refine the process, he could come up with solutions in order to smooth things out so that his customers were happy and things were happening more effectively, and he's freeing up his time so he can do the things that really matter. Okay? So I'm going to talk to ChatGPT, and in the bottom left or bottom right of ChatGPT, what you see is this little microphone button over here. You see, I just pressed it there. Okay. And now I'm going to talk to the system. It knows I'm talking to it. You can see the waveform. And I'm going to give it those 4 key elements for the standard operating procedure. So I'm going to say how to act. I'm going to say, let me stop that. I'll actually restart from the beginning. Oh, come on. I never use my iPad for ChatGPT, so please bear with me. This is the first time. I know I was testing it before this call. because it captured all that, obviously, and it's going to confuse it a little bit. So, and I can't seem to highlight everything, so I'm going old school. You are a expert in developing standard operating procedures for small to medium-sized businesses. You lead the sales team as well as the operations of the organization, and you're an expert in creating efficiencies to drive results for your company. That's the role. I need you to create an effective standard operating procedure that can be implemented quickly into our business. And here's some context. We are a manufacturer's rep agency in the electrical space. We have 70 employees and represent 42 manufacturing lines. We have a current process in place where distributor partners send quotes via email to a standard email. It's the manufacturer name at ouremail.com. It then gets sent to our quotes team. The quotes team gets to it when they can. They respond to the customer when they can with the current with pricing on the quote, and then they send details to the CRM and assign a sales rep for follow-up. The biggest challenge we're having is that there's no visibility on when that quote is getting worked on. And the distributor partner is getting frustrated and calling the sales manager to seek updates and get things to move faster. In the ideal world, we would be able to turn around these quotes in 4 to 7 hours. Communication would occur effectively so all parties know what's happening, and we would improve our close rates. What I want to come up with are 3 different potential standard operating procedures to improve the current process, and I want you to pick the best one and explain to me why it's the best one. Some resources that I would like for you to refer to include the EOS books on process, traction, and rocket fuel by Gino Wickman, the Entrepreneurial Operating System framework of books. Please lay this out in the following format: step-by-step standard operating procedures, and include a workflow diagram. I then press send. And what you'll see now is I've given those 4 points, right? I talked about the role, the task, the context, and the format. And it's referring back to some books, right? The beauty about projects, one thing that you can think about in the future is that you can store files. And you can give it up to 2.5 books worth of information to always refer to. That's a deeper level of ChatGPT, but in this case, I'm telling it to refer to those books because it could probably find them online. Okay? So here you go. Look how quickly it spit this stuff out, right? Thanks for laying that out so clearly. Here are 3 options. Option 1, triage and time slot workflow, centralized intake. It gives you the step-by-steps, quote logging, triage, work queue, communication loop completion. Option 2, dedicated quotes, POD with dispatcher role. Has the step-by-step as well. And then it gives me option 3 because I asked it for 3 options. And there's a rule that I follow, and clients of mine will know this. It's the 1-3-1 rule. 1 problem, think of 3 potential solutions, pick the best one, always. And I speak this into all of my workflows with ChatGPT. So it gave 3 options, and then it said recommendation. Because if you don't ask it to look for 3 recommendations, it'll be biased and find the first one and just give you a recommendation. You want to be specific. Find 3 and give me the best and tell me why. And what it's saying here is that it's saying option 2, dedicated quotes POD with dispatcher role, is the best because it has simplicity, which follows the EOS process that's documented, simplified, followed by all. Option 2 is easiest to train and roll out. It gives you the rocket fuel accountability piece, the visibility from process, and it's easily scalable. So real good reasons why this potential approach makes sense. And now it's given a workflow diagram, which you can always create a diagram with Canva. Honestly, making workflow diagrams is always better using digital art tools. Canva is a great resource. You could ask your marketing team to put it together and so forth. So the thing is here, we've got this this recommendation. So now it's asking me at the bottom, can you see my mouse here? Yeah, okay, perfect. It's asking me because I got my iPad and a laptop. Do you want me to draft the actual written SOP document with role descriptions, responsibilities, and measurable KPIs so you could drop it straight into your company's playbook? That would be nice, wouldn't it? So I'm going to say, yes, please draft the actual written SOP document for option 2, but lay it out in a ChatGPT canvas so that I can edit and collaborate with others. So now I mentioned the word canvas. Within ChatGPT, there's a function where you can edit its output, and it's called canvas. So now it's putting it out. It didn't put it in the canvas, did it? Let's wait and see what happens. Excuse me, I'm coughing a little bit. So what you can see here is it's giving the roles and responsibilities. It's giving the procedures step by step. It's giving the KPIs to measure, the tools and systems, the email automation, and some references that it looked at. I'm just going to talk to it one more time. This is great, but I don't see it as a canvas within ChatGPT. So you can always talk to the system, and it will come back to you and say, oh, sorry, great catch. Let me put it in here for you. Okay. But the idea is that it's being reformatted in a canvas block. Why don't I see it? I'm on my iPad once again. Where is the canvas block? Where is the canvas block? See what it says. And I apologize for the technical difficulties. But I think you know where I'm going. Oh, chat only mode. Left sidebar, usually new canvas, copy and paste into it. Okay. It didn't do that a moment ago, did it, Erm? It let me do it before. So that's okay. What we can do then is we'll simplify it and we'll go, please create a PDF with this SOP as well as role descriptions and all other details. And what it'll do is you can actually create a Word document or a PDF. In this case, I'll do a PDF. In Word, you can edit it. PDF, we'll consider it done for this example. Okay. But it will easily, with a paid ChatGPT account, create PDFs, Word docs, PowerPoint presentations, Excels, anything that you need. It will extract it into that format. And in this case, it's generating the PDF. You can see that it's analyzing. And once it's complete, I'll give you an example. Okay. Any questions about how I'm using ChatGPT at this point? Please feel free to raise your hand for creating a standard operating procedure. All right, what we have here is a PDF, quote management dispatcher role. It's the first version. If this was in a Word doc, we could implement, we could edit it to include the date, the review date, right? We would put 2 weeks is what or we would put review feedback in 2 weeks, review date. I didn't give it all that context, which I probably should have. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and say, because I have my 8 things, I want to make one more revision to this SOP, and that is that I want to include a 2-week test period of the SOP, followed by a feedback session with all stakeholders so that we could create a refined approach, a V2 for this after 2 weeks, and then run it for another 2 weeks where we then do a final review and launch it officially. So please include that in the timeline. What I could have done is easily created in the project files the 8 steps that I mentioned, put it in a Word document, just add it there, it will refer to it. I could put the books, the PDFs to those books right in the project file in the background. It will save it, it will refer to it. There's a lot of cool stuff we can do, but for the sake of this conversation, I'm keeping it as simple as possible. So what we have here now is the revised version, which includes the scope, the roles, the procedure, the pilot phase that has the 2 weeks, the feedback session, the KPIs, etc., and some references. But the process itself has been clearly laid out. Okay? So the last thing you're going to want to do once you've got your process created is obviously communicate it to the stakeholders that are in your business and outside your business. So we could very well write out the email ourselves, or we can use ChatGPT to do it. This is great. Now that I have the SOP, I would like to create 3 different communications that I can email. The first one I want to send to my distributor partners so that they understand the process and the why behind it and what steps they need to take when they're submitting a quote. The second is an email to my quotes team so that they're familiar with the process and they're implementing it ASAP. And then the third is a communication to the rest of the organization so everybody's aware of what this process looks like. Please create those 3 email templates. It's going to transcribe, and within minutes, seconds to minutes, we're going to have 3 beautiful email templates that you can copy and paste as part of this project. So here you go. We've got distributor partner email that has clear steps on how to do it. Explains the why, which is very important because your clients are going to ask, hey, why are you disrupting my business? Quotes team, here's the stages for you guys, right? And it's really clear on you need to acknowledge the request within 30 minutes and complete the quote within 4 hours for urgent and 7 hours for standard so that you can measure how effective this is working and help course correct and pivot. And then finally, the organization-wide email, which talks about the standard operating procedures, because we want to create a culture of communication and standards. And when we're implementing these SOPs, everybody should know where to find them and how to do it. Okay. I would go as far as including a link to a SharePoint file that says all the SOPs are available here. Okay. So that, in summary, is how you can leverage AI tools. Look what we just did. I spoke for 20 minutes and created an SOP to improve an existing one, update it, and the communication method. It literally took minutes. So I'm sharing this because we have these valuable tools that are at our fingertips, and if we're not leveraging them, man, somebody is, and they're going to eat your lunch if you're not careful. So in the next 18 months, and there's this concept that I want to share with you real quick that'll help paint the picture of why ChatGPT is so important. And I'm just going to wrap it up with this because we've got this. Let me just see if I can find my notes on it. I was at this conference and this kind of blew me away. We're living what's called in the dust right now. So AI tools are advancing at an incredible rate. And usually things accelerate from a technology standpoint have been accelerating at a 45-degree. But now with AI, things are starting to curve upwards. The multiplier is moving a lot faster. And organizations that are not embracing these things are being left behind. So when we think about AI, we want to think about where we want to be with it in the future. Because there's a AI adoption model. And I won't go too deep into it, but it'll help explain where and help you open your eyes to where you are today and where it's going. And there's literally two sides to this. You've got the dust, which is the now. Okay. And then you've got you can become defensible, which is in the next 12 to 18 months. And then down here is dominant. Who doesn't want to be dominant in the competitive landscape that they're working in, right? And what we're talking about here is the future, okay? But in the dust right now, this is what I'm talking about it. You're in the dust if you're only using it as a co-pilot, which is what I'm teaching you today. Most people, there's less than 40% of businesses are actually using AI, okay? You're in the dust if you're only using it for co-piloting, for insights, and for outputs, which is exactly what I taught you today. Okay? In the now. What you really want to start looking at, and this is beyond today, but just so I could paint the picture because I'm going to host future workshops on this, is how can you create agents, AI agents in your business, voice agents that answer the phones, respond to your emails automatically, chatbots that are giving your customers quotes instantaneously. All these beautiful things, right, that are self-learning. Imagine that. That stuff's coming. It already exists. But are you applying it in your business? Or are you still relying on a human to do all that stuff? And then they procrastinate it because they don't like doing it. We have a future in the next 18 months where we're going to be using avatars. So I'm using a book coach right now, and most of her content, the videos, are her face and her lips and her voice, but it's not her. It looks exactly like her, but it's a video avatar of her. And we're moving towards a business landscape where these are going to be important in interactions and coaching and selling and stuff like that. And then finally, there's robotics that are coming as defensible. You know, if you look at the BMW plant in South Carolina, they've got humanoid robots that are piecing together cars right now because they're using robots for things that are dirty, dangerous, and dusty. Okay, because humans don't want to do those jobs. So there might be things in your business where robotics might come to play in your warehouse, etc. Amazon uses robots, right? UPS is using robots now for packaging, moving packages around. But that's the future. It's right around the corner. I think in our businesses, especially as manufacturers reps, agents are going to be the most important, right? And then this is going to move towards becoming dominant in the future. So master this side. Start implementing all your SOPs quickly. Make sure that your standard operating procedures are tight, that your team is following them. Leverage AI to develop them, to refine them, to get them done quickly. You can even empower somebody on your team to do it so that they can learn how to use the systems as well. Hold them to a timeline. Use the format approach where you talk about role. What were the four things? No, I'm starting to, there we go. Role, task, context, and format. And you're going to be light years ahead of your competition. Wonderful. I invite you to reach out by email or reach out to me on social media. You can find me at the Chris Atwell. Many of you found me because of social media. So you can find me at the Chris Atwell on all platforms. And If you're interested in one-on-one coaching or group trainings for your team members, you can reach out to me directly, and I'd be happy to jump on a discovery call with you and explore if there's a good fit and see if there's anything I can do to really add value to you and your team so you could take your business to that next level and your leadership. Because one of the things that I specialize in is helping you repurpose your time. If you're feeling that you don't have enough time in the day, that you've got multiple priorities on the go all the time, that you are in the weeds occasionally, and that your important projects constantly take a back seat because you're busy selling, you're busy solving problems, my guarantee to you is if you work with me, I will help you repurpose a minimum of 7 hours a week from reactive tasks to proactive tasks so that you can work on your business rather than in it. So let me know. Let's jump on a call and we'll go from there. Wishing everyone a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you. Take care. Bye.